Good afternoon, councillors and management, members of the Fourth Estate and our guests. I'll commence briefly, but it would be good to open in prayer. Would you join me in? Almighty God, we humbly call on you to bless our council and all who are engaged in the work of local government in our great city. Grant that we may order all things in wisdom, righteousness, and peace, to the honor of your people and the good of your people who dwell in our city. Amen. Let me just pay my respects to a few of our guests here today. We have the Director of Local Government, Mrs. Maravatswanga, the Director Provincial Coordination in the Office of the Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution, Mrs. B. Noko, and the Director of Economic Development, Mr. S. Sunyama. Welcome to you all this afternoon, and I acknowledge the presence of the Deputy Mayor and the Director of Finance, who's standing in for the Town Clerk, who is away. Yes. But obviously he is also a critical component in this. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning our fairly long process of consultation concluded. As councillors here know, we have had a process of consultation in all 29 wards. All of us have had meetings discussing the proposed budget with residents and also some special interest groups. And as was discussed in our special council meeting this morning, out of those 29 wards, an overwhelming majority of residents agreed with our submissions and our priorities. In 28 of the 29 wards, there was consensus. Only one ward expressed concerns. We debated that this morning. In the course of our debate, I invited councillors who had concerns. No concerns were raised, even from the councillor in whose ward some of the objections had been raised. And so the budget for 2026 was unanimously adopted by a council as a resolution today. One of the things which was discussed, as we are all painfully aware, the budget process for 2025 was problematic in that certain quarters objected to that. It resulted in our budget not being approved by the Honourable Minister up until April this year, which caused a major disruption in the running of this council. Our earnest desire, indeed our earnest prayer for everyone here today, for all sectors, is that that should not happen again. We ask that if there are any individuals or organizations who object to what we have resolved today, that they come forward in good faith as a matter of urgency. We are a listening council. We have competent professionals represented by the Director of Finance who want to act in the best interests of this city. We are not obstructive, and I stress that we will act in good faith. We want to work very closely with central government, and we are grateful, Madam and Sir, to have your presence here today, because our desire is to work very closely with central government so that we have a smooth and efficient process. And so with those few words, we are now going to, I believe, open up. There'll be some, we will present the budget to everyone, and then we will we'll take questions after that presentation. But I'll hand over to the director to guide us through that process. And the finance chair. I beg your pardon, sir. Thank you, finance chair. Councillor Nkomo.
I think it's a bit of a tall order. Your Worship, the Mayor of Bulawayo, Senator David Coulthard, the Deputy Mayor, chairpersons of council committees, members of management. Allow me to recognize the presence of senior government officials, Director Mrs. Marova Tsanga, Director S. Saunyama, and Director B. Noko. It's a rare and singular honor to be graced by the presence of senior government officials. Your Worship, I move that I be granted permission to present a statement of the estimated revenues and expenditures of the city of Bulawayo for the 2026 financial year, and to make provisions for matters ancillary and incidental to this purpose. This is in compliance with Section 288 of the Urban Councils Act, as read with Section 47 of the Public Finance Management Act. Your Worship, allow me to thank you for your leadership and guidance in formulating this budget. I also want to express my appreciation to the Deputy Mayor, the chairpersons of various council committees, fellow councillors of this chamber, for undertaking citywide consultations and clearly presenting the views of the people through various stakeholder and ward meetings. I also want to appreciate heads of departments and council staff for their valuable input into the process. Allow me to also extend my gratitude to the Ministry of Local Government and Public Works, development partners, civic society, professionals, business organizations, and individuals whose input helped in shaping this proposed budget. This proposed budget, Your Worship, is responding to various issues raised by stakeholders through the consultative process. Key issues raised include the need for improvement in water supply hours, properly managing the sanitary landfill, controlling pollution, prioritization of enforcement of regulations, decisive rectification of the proliferation of illegal activities in the city, ensuring the cleanliness of the city, social services delivery, expansion of recreational, sporting, plus youth centers, provision of social infrastructure to protect the vulnerable in the community, environmental protection, including care for people living with disabilities. Your Worship, allow me to turn to the 2026 proposed budget itself, which is presented under the 2026 National Budget theme, Enhance Drivers of Economic Growth and Transformation Towards Vision 2030. The theme is premised on the National Development Strategy 1 and the impending NDS 2, anchored on moving the nation towards a prosperous and empowered upper middle class income society by 2030, and the city of Bulawayo's vision to be a leading, smart, and transformative city. Your Worship, Council has made strides towards the attainment of the national vision through the following pillars. 1, economic growth and stability, food security and nutritional security, governance, value chain and structural transformation, health and well-being, housing delivery, human capital development, image building and international engagement and re-engagement, digital economy, infrastructure and utilities, youth, sports and culture, environmental protection, climate resilience and natural resource management, as well as social protection. The 2026 budget approach enhanced drivers of economic growth and transformation towards Vision 2030 resonates with the city of Bulawayo's growth strategy of renewal, stabilization, and growth. This is outlined in the city's 7 strategic pillars based on 6 programs. Various efforts have been made towards the attainment of the city's vision, and I'll go through that. Strategic pillars. Pillar 1, sustainable institutional resources. Pillar 2, private sector-led economic renewal. Pillar 3, renewed public infrastructure and quality utilities. Pillar 4, excellent modernized social services and safe, secure environment. Pillar 5, good governance, leadership, excellence, resilient human capital. Pillar 6, service excellence, engaged, empowered, and satisfied stakeholders. And Pillar 7, managing the business of the city. Specifically on programs, Program 1, governance and administration. Program 2, water, sanitation, and hygiene. Program 3, social services. Program 4, roads. Program 5, public safety and security services. Program 6, natural resources, conservation, and management. The proposed budget seeks to address the above while focusing on the Council's vision of becoming a leading, smart, and transformative city. The legislative framework for the budget process. In fulfilling its mandate, City of Bulawayo is guided by various statutes which contain the terms of reference of the council. And we have an annexure which has all the city's statutory mandates, all the bylaws. A review of global and domestic economic developments during 2025 and beyond assists in contextualizing this 2026 budget. Global economic developments and outlook. According to the Ministry of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion budget strategy paper, the global economy remains resilient, with growth recording a steady growth rate of 3.3% in 2024. In the outlook, GDP growth is expected to stabilize at around 3% in 2026 before rising by 3.2% both in 2027 and 2028. This marks a modest improvement from the slower pace of 2.8% projected from 2025, suggesting that the world economy will regain some momentum after weathering recent uncertainties. Advanced economies are forecasted to record a growth rate of 1.5% in 2026 before increasing by 1.7% both in 2027 and 2028. This reflects a gradual recovery from 1.4% projected for 2025. However, growth remains well below pre-pandemic averages. The local economic outlook. In the 2026 budget strategy paper, the Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion stated that the real GDP growth is projected at 6% in 2025. This anticipated economic performance is largely attributable to a strong recovery in agricultural output, complemented by expected continued solid performance in ICT, mining, electricity, and transport sectors. The medium-term outlook presents a projected real GDP growth of 5% over the period of 2026 through to 2029. In 2026 specifically, economic growth is expected to be driven by sustained improvements in agriculture, mining, ICT, and electricity sectors. The baseline assumptions underpinning the 2026 growth forecast are as follows: normal rainfall patterns, stable macroeconomic environment, enhanced electricity supply, continued improvements in the business environment, and moderation in global commodity prices. Inflation rate. The annual inflation rate in Zimbabwe has moderated significantly in 2025, following introduction of the Zimbabwe gold, the ZiG currency, in April 2024. According to the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, RBZ, annual inflation stood at approximately 30.7% by mid-2025, compared to 686% recorded in 2024. Monthly inflation has stabilized around 0.3%. Despite this moderation, inflation levels in Bulawayo have remained marginally higher than the national average and sister city Harare. RBZ data estimates Bulawayo's annual inflation at 32.4%, compared to the national rate of 30.7% and Harare's of 29.8%. The persistence of slightly elevated inflation in Bulawayo underscores the need to strengthen local economic competitiveness, encouraging investment, improving supply chain efficiencies, and expanding industrial output. These factors remain crucial to containing prices and promoting sustainable growth. The current inflation levels continue to limit upward tariff adjustments by council as households and businesses face cost of living pressures. The RBZ maintains a tight monetary policy stance supported by fiscal consolidation measures and the stabilization of the ZiG. If maintained, these efforts could reduce annual inflation to single digit by 2027, in line with the government's medium-term macroeconomic framework. The envisaged inflation outlook had a bearing in the fixing of council service charges for 2026. A brief review of the 2025 budget as shown in the table, both in ZiG and the USD equivalent, and most notably there was expenditure on the refuse compactor trucks, as well as servicing of Makwekwe, Woodville, and Mhlangeni, with as well as road rehabilitation and construction, well detailed in that table. The capital budget for 2025 was set at 71 million, and the recurrent budget was at $226 million, as shown in the table below. The 2025 budget was approved, as His Worship noted, in April 2025, which was quite late. Delays in approval derailed progress in undertaking a number of capital projects and maintenance projects during the first quarter, leading to low capital expenditure. Devolution funds are earmarked for procurement of yellow equipment and refuse compactors from Belarus. Zinara disbursements to August 2025 stood at 22 million ZiG. Council appreciates the funding from government. It has been utilized on various projects in the city. The capital expenditure was directed towards acquisition of refuse compactors. We've got a picture there somewhere. Improving the city's roads infrastructure, installing lifts at the tower block, and water mains renewal. Your Worship, Council has continued to provide services under challenging circumstances, some beyond its control. A number of success stories were recorded during the year. I now present the current year performances by programs. Governance and Administration Program. Under this program, there are 6 sub-programs, namely Council, Town Clerks, Human Resources and Administration, Finance and Technical Support. Replacement of tower block lifts was completed in the first quarter at a cost of $770,000. The city is now on a very aggressive and robust investment drive to bring investment once again to the City of Kings. During the year, the city held 4 investment conferences, namely Bedcon, Cobris, Sports Economy, and Kumbula Ekaya. Water, sanitation, and hygiene. Good rains were received in the year 2024-2025 rainfall season. Significant inflows were recorded at the city's dams. Dam statistics as at 20 September 2025 indicate that dams were 40.22% full compared to 28% in September of 2024. This shows an improvement of 11% on the 2024 volumes. The volume of available usable water as at 20 September 2025 was at 150 million cubic meters. Council continued working on new water and sewer connections throughout the city and attending to service delivery issues such as water and sewer base. Makweko Reservoir was refurbished to address issues of leaks and improve water quality. The picture below shows the before and after repairs, as you can see. In order to treat the water to acceptable standards, Council used chemicals as shown in the table below. This is a list of the chemicals that have to be used. So there's a huge cost to water treatment. Council operates 7 clear and raw water reservoirs with a carrying capacity of 1.8 million liters as shown on the table below. This year, Council struggled to maintain minimum water levels, reservoir levels, due to equipment breakdown and power outages caused by criminal activities and load shedding. I think these are just tables of the water treatment plans, pictures of the sewer mains renewal, and also there's a picture of our new refuse compactors as well. Domestic waste was collected weekly at all residential areas, despite having a depleted fleet of refuse compactors. This was achieved through engagement of community trackers to collect garbage in residential areas and the CBD. Streets in the central business district and major roads in the residential areas were swept daily. The city and the stakeholders participated in all the national cleanup days during this year. On solid waste disposal, Council managed to control fires at the sanitary landfill through hire of landfill compactors. social services program. This program includes 4 sub-programs, namely education, social amenities, and welfare services, housing, and health. Below are some of the achievements. In terms of education, you can see that we procured almost 7,000 books at a cost of 97,000 US dollars, equipping 11 libraries with new curriculum books from ECD right up to A-level. We have pictures once again showing our work in terms of the acquisition of the books. Social amenities and welfare services. Council rehabilitated a number of community facilities such as halls, public toilets, youth and sports facilities. 7% of the budget was allocated to recreational and youth facilities in line with the ministry guidelines. We also have pictures of the Bulawayo Arts Festival, which is our premier arts festival for the City of Kings. Housing, the Dagmo Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Hub was rehabilitated and modernized through a partnership with UNDP. Another MSME center located on Batch is being refurbished. There's a picture which shows the Dagmo Hub. Council availed 638 residential stands by the end of September 2025, which were serviced through triple P's, private-public partnerships. That's in Dagmo. Health, Council runs 21 clinics, 1 hospital, 6 cemeteries, and a crematorium. Tenders were flighted to build a clinic at Mkanwini. The City of Bulawayo has made it easy for patients who visit clinics to get medicines by constructing pharmacies supported by government and within clinic premises. 7 clinics have pharmacy stores, and these are Luveve, Njube, Pelandaba, Emakandeni, Makawe, E.F. Watson clinics. Appreciation goes to the government for donating drugs and medicines through NAFPAM, that has encouraged primary health care. A donation of information, communication, and technology ICT equipment was received to set up a public health emergency operations center. And there's a picture there which shows that. Again, there were solar panels that were replaced at Njube and the Makandeni. Roads. The roads program encompasses road infrastructure, traffic management. The program addresses road safety and trafficability. The picture below shows some of the roads that were done in 2025. I'm sure if you go to George Slundiga, there is abundant testimonies of the work that has been done by council. There's also routine pothole patching, surface roads, which is an ongoing activity citywide. As you are aware, council entered into partnership with 23 investments to provide a parking solution on 7,200 parking bays. Council received income amounting to 550,000 US dollars, 140,000 rand, 8,000 pula, and 5 million ZIG from January to 31 August 2025. These funds have been applied on improvement of parking, with 6,978 parking bays having been marked to date. Council is guided by the Urban Councils Act Section 189 to 190 on the usage of the parking fees. Public safety and security services. The program encompasses emergency services, security services, and public lighting. Council's emergency services continue to be vigilant in providing civic protection to human life and property. The emergency services attended to incidents of road traffic accidents, property, and bush fires. High-mast tower lights were installed in Kulumane and Pumula, as you can see, and Pumula South, So this picture shows some of the installation work in Luveve North. Natural resources and conservation management. During 2025, Council conducted 2 environmental awareness campaigns, cultivated 2 parks, met the target to plant and green the city's environment, and cleared 100% of road veggies and open spaces. 379 surveillance patrols were conducted during this period. You can see some of our tree planting activities that took place during the period under review. Your Worship, I now turn to the 2026 priorities set by the stakeholders and residents during the 2025 performance review meetings held from 4 to 27 July 2025, attended by 1,777 people. The priorities are as follows. Number 1, water, followed by health, sewerage, housing, roads, education, public lighting, social services, fire, and ambulances. Your Worship, the 2026 proposed budget consultation meetings ran from 26 September to 4 October. 47 meetings were held during this time. And there are some issues that were raised during the consultative process. And these are some of the issues that were raised by residents and stakeholders. Improvement in water supply hours. Availability of medicines at clinics. Eradicating pollution at the sanitary landfill site. Swift response on sewer base. Improvements in roads, trafficability. Enhanced security through installing public solar street lights. Provision of social amenities and facilities for the youth. And enforcement of bylaws. Your Worship, the city is facing a worsening service delivery infrastructure decay, such as water, sewerage, roads, and social amenities. The proposed budget seeks to address some of the infrastructure resuscitation needs. To that end, the 2026 budget proposals are as follows. Implementation of the new valuation rule and maintaining rates and property taxes charges at the 2025 level. To finance roads and social amenities, rehabilitation, council needs adequate funding from the rates and taxes account. Secondly, continuation of the water levy to fund the rehabilitation of water infrastructure. It is proposed that council continues to charge the water levy of $1 for domestic properties and $10 for non-domestic properties. Continuation of the road levy is to fund the rehabilitation of the roads. The proposal is that council continues to charge the special roads levy of $1 for domestic properties and $10 for non-domestic properties, and that the funds be ring-fenced. And below we have a record of the consultative meetings. I won't go into detail. I think His Worship went into that. Bullet point 47. The proposed budget for 2026 is set at $224 million. The proposed capital budget is set at 67.2 million, constituting 29.9% of the total budget, with the revenue budget set at 157.5%. There's a table there detailing that, and a pie chart as well. We also have a breakdown of the 2026 total expenditure budget as shown below. Staff costs at 35.9%, general expenses 24%, repairs 3.4%, maintenance 6%, and then capital expenditure at almost 30% of the budget. So we're spending significant on our capital expenditure. If you look at Joburg, for example, they use 10%, 10%. So actually well on track as a city. The capital budget for 2026 is projected at 67 million. The projects will be funded from external own resources, Zinara funding, devolution funds, donations, public subscriptions such as the pre-sale scheme in various suburbs, the traditional beer levy, public-private partnerships, and city parking, TTI. And we have a breakdown of the proposed capital funding as I indicated earlier on. We also have a pie chart as well after that as well. Your Worship, the Intergovernmental Funds Transfer, IGFT, or devolution funds allocation for the year 2026 is yet to be released. Council is projecting to be allocated a ZIGO equivalent of at least $5 million based on the 2025 allocation. Also, Zinara funds for 2026 are based on estimates, as government is yet to release the 2026 allocations. The combined proposed 2026 budget stands at US $224 million as shown below in this very detailed breakdown. Capital expenditure is targeted at the following: water and sewer infrastructure taking up over 20 million, health facilities 4 million, roads and stormwater drainage 6.4, operational assets 16 million, educational facilities 4 million, electrical infrastructure 1.6, sporting facilities 10.7 million US, social amenities 1.8 million, taking our capex to 67 million US. Proposed 2026 activities. Proposed activities to be undertaken will go a long way in achieving the vision and mission of the city and satisfying the needs of our society. Under governance and administration, Council is proposing to utilize $60 million under this program. 16.7 million would be spent on capital projects, while 43.7 million would be spent on recurrent expenditure. Water, sanitation, and hygiene. Council is proposing to utilize $70 million under this program. 20 million would be spent on capital projects, while $50 million would be spent on recurrent expenditure. Social services. Council is proposing to utilize $50 million under this program. $22 million would be spent on capital projects, while 28 million would be spent on recurrent expenditure. Roads. Council is proposing to utilize 18.9 million under this program. 6.4 million would be spent on capital projects, whilst 5 million would be spent on recurrent expenditure. Public safety and security services. Council proposes to use 21.5 million under this program, which covers emergency services, security services, and public lighting. 1.7 million would be spent on capital projects, while 9 million would be spent on recurrent expenditure. Social services and emergency services are labor intensive, and most of the recurrent expenditure will address manning levels and maintenance of equipment. Natural resources, conservation and management. Council has set aside 2.8 million under this program to conserve and ensure the city as a green city. The whole amount will be spent on recurrent expenditure. it will go towards resuscitating the council's parks dotted around the city, bringing back the glory days of the old Bulawayo with our parks green and titivated, sinking boreholes to water the parks. Digitalization. Council has introduced a number of innovative programs to improve people's lives and encourage and expand the usage of e-services and ICT. This is in line with the council's vision of becoming a smart city by 2030. 7.89 million has been set aside in the 2026 capital budget to procure hardware such as personal computers, laptops, tablets, printers, and other peripheral computer-related equipment, which is essential to enhancing the council's digital interaction with these stakeholders. Your Worship, over and above the computer hardware, council proposes to spend a further 1.9 million on improving network connectivity, which is imperative in this day and age. Governance. In line with Vision 2030, Council is embarking on a number of projects to improve governance. Involvement of the community is critical in delivering services to their satisfaction. The major activities planned in 2026 include councillors' feedback meetings, which are to be held at council halls and schools. There are a number of council policies yet to be rolled out to residents and stakeholders to capture their valued input. Some bylaws are being updated to reflect council's vision and proactiveness. Gender-responsive budgeting. The city of Bulawayo is the second largest in Zimbabwe, and it makes Bulawayo Metropolitan Province, which is strategically located in southwestern part of Zimbabwe. The city has a total population of 665,000, of which 307,000 are male and 357, or 54%, are females, according to the population census report. Given a gender ratio of 86 males for every 100 females, the import of this figure is that council cannot ignore gender equity and social inclusion in its budget. Henceforth, the gender-responsive budget, GRB statement, is a summary of measures taken by the city of Bulawayo in response to the Ministry of Finance Budget Directive. The statement shows detailed revenue and program expenditure budgets that include disaggregated data of staff and beneficiaries, including youth, senior citizens, people with disabilities, day population, and night population as well. The statement stands guided by the Council's disability policy, which was adopted in 2017. Therefore, mainstreaming gender and disability benefits council residents and all other stakeholders. Let me move to the budget process vis-a-vis gender. The city of Bulawayo kicked off the 2026 budget process with the 2025 budget review consultation meetings in July 2025. Council took into account issues of gender equity, social inclusion issues by ensuring that the gender focal persons, gender champions, and persons with disabilities were included in the budget planning meetings. The city of Bulawayo used social media platforms, newspaper adverts, and council website to disseminate information on the budget process. The budget subcommittee, the councillors, and management were exposed to gender-responsive budgeting through attending capacity building workshops that were organized by Genderlinks and other stakeholders. We have some of the figures on citizen engagement broken down into gender. Let me go to revenue. In line with the social development, gender protection thematic area of the 2026 budget strategy paper, Council considered women and gender equity, youth, disability inclusion, and the need to access education, healthcare, water service delivery, and trafficable roads. Program-based budgeting places health services, education, sports facilities, and vocational training centers budget under the social services, while the rest of the gender mainstreaming activities budget is in the human capital budget under the gender safety and health section. There is also a bursary scheme for vulnerable learners in secondary schools and rates rebates for the elderly, while the central government provides funding through BEAM for primary and secondary school learners. And we have, I'll skip this table and move on to the tail end of my presentation. The full presentation will be availed to media stakeholders at the end. So we have a very detailed breakdown in terms of gender and what is being planned and what was done and what is being prioritized in terms of that. So you can see that you're actually looking at each budget line with a gender lens, which is quite unique and also has a gender lens or a gender perspective. Let me tail end my presentation by looking at WASH, which generates more income than other programs. Social services spends more than they raise. More services offered under social services are offered below cost, for instance, the provision of halls, schools, clinics, and sports facilities. Council's accounting policies ensure that there's cross-subsidization. Gender policy of 2017 requires that resources are allocated equitably, and 34% of gender activities require cross-subsidization. Conclusion, Your Worship. The 2026 revenue budget is proposed at 157 million, while the capital budget is at 67 million. The 2026 tariffs will largely maintain the current 2025 US dollar charges, with marginal movements on some properties based on the new valuation law, which will come into effect on the 1st of January 2026. I therefore commend this budget to the Council, fellow residents, and the stakeholders of Bulawayo. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kubo, Chair of our Finance. I suggest that you keep your position there, Chair, because I think now we'll have an opportunity for councillors if they want to make comments, and then I'm going to open up to members of the Fourth Estate. Okay, all right. Okay. I'm guided by management that we won't have questions, but you will avail yourself to the members of the Fourth Estate after the meeting for questions. But we do want to have an opportunity, if any people have comments that they would like to make, please do so. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship, and the Chairperson of the Finance and Development Committee. Before I move the motion to adopt the budget, I would like to make a few comments, especially with regard to the levies, $1 road levy and $1 water levy. With regard to road levy, I think it's clear, the program of action is very clear. It was articulated very well during the ward consultation meetings. regard to $1 water levy, yes, you spoke very well. You explained that it is to do with the rehabilitation of the infrastructure. But I feel we should be more clearer and speak to something which can be measured, especially in keeping the non-revenue water, the lakes. At the end of the year, when we presented the 2027 budget, as residents, we should be able to evaluate, to say, yes, our dollar did ABCD, something measurable. But if it's like that without any measure, really it will be difficult to say, did our dollar do what we wanted it to do? I think that's my humble comment. And through your worship, I want to move that to adopt this budget for 2026. I thank you.
Do you have a seconder? Thank you. Any object to? Oh, sir.
No, it's not an objection, but I wanted to make a comment. Maybe it's going to, if it is going to be adopted, maybe some good other views that we may have. I think, Councillor Nkomo, this is a very detailed budget proposal you have presented with all the necessary aspects of a normal budget. But I think you did look at the 14 thematic areas. I don't know whether you also appreciate that we now have new 10 thematic areas which we are going to utilize for 2026. So I would recommend that you consider those new 10 instead of the 14, because we are moving and consolidating into NDS2. And this has been provided, this information. Then the second thing is on the framework of for your budget. You did talk about inflation, but probably it would have made more value if you are going to talk about the GDP of the province. What is the GDP of the province? These statistics are available with the Zimstats, the growth rate. Recently we have them, and you can also equally project to have a picture of the performance of the economy, and also an assessment of the effect of agriculture. Agriculture did fairly well last year, but its impact on an economy like urban is not as it should be for the rural. And also just saying how this translates into an economy that is performing, and the other value chains. And then you did also mention on investment, you did drive home. But I thought you were also going to mention one other very important conference you did, the Women Investment Conference. I think it was coordinated. If you mention it there, it would also add value. And also when you said that 2026 devolution IGTF are yet to be released for 2026, I think it will be ambiguous. If you are to say the 2026 budget is going to be announced by the Minister of Finance than to say it's yet to be. It might mean it's outside the normal arrangement. It is going to be presented by the Minister of Finance than to say it is yet to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think that is noted. So the final submission should include those amendments, including figures on the GDP of the city and the economic performance of the city, and their own projections and permutations as well as the council, to say, given this economic context, how do we project future growth in terms of the city? Because this speaks as well to future revenue streams of the city. It speaks to other issues pertaining to economic growth and so forth and so on. So thank you. We will then make those amendments and additions, including your comment on the devolution funds as well, that will be announced to the official national budget statement by the Minister of Finance. We also do take note of, by the way, it's the fault of the chairperson. The the investment summit for women is actually in the presentation, but due to indolence and laziness by the presenter, it's actually there in the report. So we've actually captured that, and Deputy Mayor as well. We have captured the contributions about us being very smart, very specific, measurable, achievable time frame in terms of how we want to use the ring fenced money. You said non-revenue. What is it? 48%. In terms of the minimum service delivery requirements, we should bring it down to at least 30%. So we need to address that issue through very specific interventions. And I'm sure our water and sanitation department, together with the finance department, will be seized appropriately and relevantly with that. NTS2.
Thank you.
See, Madam Marovasang, I did mention NTS2. I didn't go into detail, but I did mention NTS1, and I also mentioned in passing NTS2, but I didn't go into detail, saying that is yet to be officially. Thank you, ma'am.
I just need to reinforce, because there's a bit of confusion now, and perhaps we had our special council meeting at 11 o'clock this morning, which due notice was given to councillors, and the budget was approved. Subject, of course, we understand, to the submission to ministry. And the purpose of this is to advise you of the passing of this morning at 11 o'clock. But obviously, we present it to you. And as I said in my opening remarks, we take your comments very seriously. We will make sure that all of those issues are addressed prior to the budget going to ministry for formal approval. I think with those remarks,
I just want some bit of clarification. I also raised it with in the last meeting, that now that we are moving our devolution funds from Vulindlela to our yellow equipment, what is going to happen to Vulindlela? Do we have a budget for Vulindlela to finish up? It's at 30% now. Sure. That's what we want to know. How is it going to affect our budget?
I do know that we do have a budget allocation for social housing. There is a budget allocation for that. And I'm sure finance and housing and community services will have detail towards that. But it's definitely something that will be seized on, because we don't want to leave projects hanging in the air, because that's not desirable. We don't want to do that. But at the same time, as you noted, want to also be very proactive in procurement of yellow machines, because that will make us very effective in terms of attending to service delivery needs, roads, and other things that actually require tools of trade, as the chairperson of engineering always says.
With that, let me adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much for your
Maybe before you do that, Mayor, we also have the issue of those houses that are flooding there in Country Park. Has that been also taken into account? Remember the 18 households that are in Country Park, because there's a lot of noise that is actually coming from these people now that it's going to rain again. Chairman, I don't know whether we have those. It's there in the budget.
Yeah. What we'll do is we'll make sure that I'm not sure the registration form is circulating, that we also do send the detail, because believe me, it's very, very detailed in terms of the budget lines and so forth and so on. So we'll make sure that, especially for yourselves, because you are the most critical stakeholder, we need to send the detailed budget to you, which shows the actual, right up to the unit cost as well.
We are a transparent council committed to good governance, and we will make sure that those details are available to you.
Okay, thank you.
If there are no further comments, I would like to adjourn the meeting, and we will make ourselves available to the fourth estate if they would like to question the chair or myself, the finance director or the deputy mayor. The four of us will make ourselves available.
But thank you very much for your attendance this afternoon. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, there was some confusion because the special council was convened for 11 a.m. this morning. This is not a council meeting.
Okay.
We resolved and we passed it. This was a